Out of every map in BTD6, Glacial Trail has to be the most annoying. It looks simple for an expert map as it only has a single lane to defend and 2 loops to help out, but the limited space to place monkeys, tons of obstacles that block line of sight, and worst of all, its freezing gimmick make it surprisingly tough. I'll break down the freezing part a bit later though. Because we can place monkeys right next to the track, I opted for Sada. She deals a ton of damage in a short range, making her perfect for this map. She soloed the start, and we backdrop with a dart monkey on round 8 and a boomerang on round 10. The goal is to get the dart monkey to an ultra juggernaut, but that's way down the road. For now, we'll upgrade him to a 3-2-0 spike-a-pult. This will do work in the early game, as each ball now deals 2 damage and can bounce off obstacles, and there are plenty of icicles and walls around this guy to rebound off of. Everything was going great. Sada and the dart were popping everything right away, but on round 15, Sada froze solid, unable to attack or use abilities. That's the gimmick. Every 10 rounds, your monkeys completely freeze, and it depends on when you place them. We got Sada on round 6, so she'll be frozen for rounds 15 and 16 before thawing out, and freeze again for 25 and 26. So on and so on for the rest of the game. So we need to plan out when we place each monkey to make sure we always have enough of them defending. The dart monkey handled these 2 rounds before freezing himself on 17, and we picked up a mortar in the top right of the map on round 18. This guy will do solid damage when targeting the first loop, and we upgraded him to a 0-2-2 for extra attack speed, accuracy, and a fire damage over time effect. With this, we kind of coasted to round 26, where we picked up an ice monkey, the only monkey that's immune to this map's gimmick, as he's used to the frigid temperatures. We made him a 2-1-0, which gives us the flexibility to use Sword Leap on the yellow rush of round 27. Without it, we surely would have leaked since our spike-a-pult was frozen solid, and we're okay because the ice monkey can break open all the leads on 28. Even with this, a couple greens made it through the ice cave, so we upgraded the boomer to a 0-0-2 to hold them off. Currently, our monkeys don't work well together since Sada can't pop frozen balloons, but that's something we can work through as the dart and mortar don't mind. On round 32, we upgraded the dart monkey to a juggernaut, making its spiked balls larger, fly further, give it extra pierce, damage to ceramics and fortified balloons, knockback on non-blimps, and it can pop every type of balloon now. And on round 34, Sada finally hit level 7, letting her pop frozen balloons, so she'll stop attacking frozen ones, dealing 0 damage. Here, we also upgraded the mortar to a signal flare, not necessarily for this round, but for 36, where we'll have to take on 20 camo greens and Sada will be on ice. With this decamo though, our juggernaut easily beat the round as barely any balloons even made it to the loop. Without the jug for the next 2 rounds though, we struggled a bit more, popping many balloons on the loop and a few even made it to the boomer and back. What made this possible though was upgrading the ice monkey to an ice shards and then embrittlement. Once he got going, the clumps of balloons got easier to deal with. But that brings us to the first boss of the run, the MOAB on round 40. We bought a second mortar in the top right and upgraded it to a 0-2-1 and hit play. The MOAB floated through the track, breaking open after completing the first loop, and the Juggernaut's knockback gave us enough time to pop every balloon except a zebra, which we cleaned up with a sword leap once it came out the other side of the cave. We circled back to the new mortar and turned it into a second signal flare. That way, our camo detection wouldn't get knocked out all at once. At least one mortar would always stay online. From here, it was time to start saving for our first tier 5 upgrade, the Ultra Juggernaut. Usually underwhelming, but on Glacial Trail, this thing thrives. There are so many icy obstacles for it to ricochet off, it becomes an absolute menace. During this save up, 2 important things happened. The first was we placed a bomb shooter in back on round 45. We didn't upgrade it at all, but I wanted it down now to line up the freezes and let us upgrade it whenever we're ready. The last thing I want is to either leak because it wasn't down, or be forced to place it on the wrong round and make the late game even harder. And the second was that we upgraded the boomer to a 402 glaive ricochet on round 47. Our Juggernaut was still frozen, and without him, tons of balloons got past Sada. But this tier 4 boomerang locked down the back of the track for the next couple rounds. Unfortunately, right after spending this money on it, he froze on 49, but our Jug was back up and ready to pick up the slack. On round 50, MOAB start coming again, and they're just as scary as before. So we used Sword Leap once we broke open the first one to pop all the insides, and the balloons from this round gave us enough money to afford the Ultra Juggernaut right before the second MOAB spawned, and he smoked the next several rounds. While this was going on, we upgraded the bomb shooter to a 420 balloon impact. This guy is great for stalling ceramics and below, pairing very well with our glaive ricochet on the loops. And they held down the exit while the Ultra Jug was frozen, like on round 57 and 58 where the ceramics routinely made it to them. And right when the Ultra Jug comes back off the ice, the boomer goes on break. To line up another freeze, we bought an Alchemist on round 60 right next to the Boomer and upgraded it to a 3/0/0 Berserker Brew. This will make our back end defenses a bit better, but now it's time to set up the end game. On round 62, we purchased an Ace, Alchemist, and Village in the top right. This way, they will all freeze together, and the only rounds they'll be down in the 90s are 91 and 92. Then, we upgraded the Village to a Jungle Drums, the Ace to a 4/0/2, and the Alchemist to a Berserker Brew. While getting these upgrades, the dreaded round 63 came. I figured we'd be okay since we have so much crowd control, but holy cow did the Ultra Juggernaut smoke this round. The ceramics got deleted the second they came on screen, and the MOABs on 64 didn't live much longer. The next round, we upgraded our Ice Monkey to have Deep Freeze and started another large save up. The next 10 or so rounds were easy, nothing got close to leaking, and we didn't have to use any abilities, but then round 77 and 78 came while our Dart Monkey was frozen. The BFBs that end 77 definitely scared us a bit as hundreds of Bloons made it to the end, but none were able to push past our Bomb Shooter and Glaive Ricochet. 78 was worse though. I wanted to get by with no abilities, but once the first Ceramic Rush got around the second loop, I couldn't hold out. I used Sword Charge even though we probably would have been fine, and knowing that the first group got through, we used both abilities on the second rush of ceramics, beating the round and putting us only a couple $100 off the Super Brittle. While not the best tier 5 in the game, he's in a very solid spot and never freezes, giving our run the stability it needs. So, at the start of round 79, we made this tier 5 Ice Monkey. Now, you can probably guess the next two tough rounds as there's a clear pattern. Rounds 87 and 88, when the Dart Monkey was out of commission. While saving up for the Sky Shredder, we had to take on 4 ZOMGs down an Ultra Jug. To break the outer layers faster, we used Sada's Sword Leap early on, and there were so many Super Ceramics pushing past our Bomb Shooter that we used Sword Charge to pop most of them. And for round 88, we Sword Leapt twice and ended the round with another charge, letting our Jug come back to us and start carrying like he always does. Round 89 was easy with him, but the DDTs on 90 got further than I'd like. So we used a Sword Leap to make sure there was no funny business. I was not going to lose to DDTs when I'm this close to a black border. And without any more of those speedy blimps, the Ultra Juggernaut put on a show for rounds 91 and 92. His knockback was going crazy, and very few Bloons made it to the back of the track. This gave us the money for the Sky Shredder, but he was frozen solid, so we had to wait until the end of the round to get him and a stronger stim. This was a massive jump in popping power, letting us smoke the DDTs on 93, and we picked up a radar scanner to make us less dependent on signal flares. I didn't know this at the time, but apparently village buffs like this work even when it's frozen. Too bad that was its last time freezing this run though. The next round I was terrified of was 95. Down Sada and our Bomb Shooter, we had to take on 30 DDTs, but our tier 5 monkeys popped off. The Sky Shredder broke open the DDTs, and the Jug kept the ceramics in check. The only time things got far was when our Sky Shredder was on the right side of the map, which could have been avoided if I microed him a bit. But even without it, only a couple Bloons made it to the right side of the track, easily getting dealt with by the Boomer. For all of round 96, I wanted to upgrade a mortar to a Shattering Shells to make the fortified MOABs easier, but I couldn't remember which one to upgrade. One of the mortars has already frozen in the 90s, and the other will freeze next round, making this a big decision. Luckily, we were able to get through 96 without the upgrade, and on 97, we made the top mortar a 024. Perfect timing, as I didn't want to deal with the fortified insides of 2 ZOMGs. Round 98 came, and I was terrified, but there wasn't much we could do. We built a first strike in the bottom right of the map so it could help out on the loop, and we waited to see if an ability was needed. There's a solid chance we could have made it by, but why not use a Sword Charge as the round is coming to an end? So Sada made the final third of the round much easier. Onto the fortified DDTs. We picked up a 013 MOAB glue to slow them down at the start, though it was far enough away that he didn't always shoot. It got a few of them though, and only 4 ceramics made it to the back, where we popped them with a Sword Leap. And just like that, we're on the last round. We had all our big towers ready for the B.A.D, but our entire back end was frozen, so we couldn't let anything get by. Our tier 5 monkeys fired away, whittling this guy down, and right before he entered the ice cave, we used first strike, completely skipping over the insides and getting us the win. And just like that, I got my second to last black border.